Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen. It is December 11th and tonight we are having a workshop, and because it is a workshop there will be no public comments. Okay, and we are going to be reviewing tonight Public Safety Retention Plan. All right, Bruce, you're on.
All me. All right. You each have in front of you, I hope, the copy of the email that was sent out with 7 proposals in it to consider. There's a wide variety of things to consider here. There are issues that may be attached to some of them that we would have to work out details on, and that's perfectly understandable. I understand there's a couple of concerns with a few, and that's fine. There should be. I attended as it says in the opening paragraph, but I attended the Vermont class, and it was very interesting to see that we were doing most of everything, or at least looking at most everything that was mentioned, and this is a national group, the National Volunteer Fire Council. And like I say, when it did come to pay, that was one of the things that they all at least said, is that they're losing people for higher pay in other towns, pretty much everybody, and that keeping up with that was critical to their systems as well. This class was attended from people from Millinocket right across to a wide variety of Vermont, New York, and Massachusetts folks. So it's, again, as you know, I'm not telling you, I'm preaching to the choir. It was it's a national issue. So this gives us some stuff to talk about anyways, and I think that we're doing right now, just to kind of have the background on this one, but we've been doing ongoing recruitment campaigns, and we just finished, if you've seen it on our Facebook posts, a basic fire school for 5 new members who are now certified, and 3 of those will be going on to Falmouth in January to start their Fire 1 and 2 Pro Board certification. One of them will be going on to the EMT class, and the other one's going to just continue to get his feet wet within the fire side of things at the basic level. We're very
come back here?
And yeah, they're just taking the class there. Yeah, it's 2 nights a week, a weekend here and things like that. So it'll go through to June. It's quite an undertaking and far more in depth than the 3-month course we put on in-house, which had 14 people originally, by the way, from the surrounding towns, which was kind of a cool thing. So you can see what we have here, and I think that the ongoing recruitment campaign is critical. We use our signs. The digital signs are a great tool. We've had several people say they've come in with applications because of that. Our Facebook page, the town's web page, etc. All good things to see.
One difference would be, though, I'd like to run a campaign like you would a political campaign, print up some actual signs. I think, in some sort of a striking color scheme that'll catch people's attention. I'm not talking in dozens, but maybe a dozen strategically placed throughout the community. And I think that would be something that would be unusual. That I haven't seen other towns do that, but I think it might be unusual and eye-catching along with all this other stuff.
Correct. And I've talked with our guy in the department who's a PR guy and runs a mailing firm, etc. So he prints signs and gives out mailers and things like that. And he's on board to try to print these signs at a reasonable cost for us, his cost. That was number 1. Do you want to speak about these as we go, or how would you like to proceed with that?
I think I'd like you to go forward.
Just move and just
Yeah.
breeze through. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just give you an overview of each. So, renewing our efforts to reach out to our area towns, and we do this fairly frequently. And again, next week I have an officers meeting, and we have invited Casco's officers to come over, have a pizza with us, and let's chat and see where we can go from here, training-wise, what we can do purchasing-wise. Is there something that we can get a better bang for our buck? Is there even staffing opportunities that we might be able to achieve together? We're right on the cusp of the opening of the staffing grant through FEMA. And so that's a potential, but we have to make sure that the 2 towns' boards align, and that the ongoing funding from the 3-year point on is going to be there, and it's a supported project. If not, there really is no sense in trying to do this and bring staffing in just to have them go and leave you because you can't support the program.
So when you talk about that, you're talking about grant funded, so 100% for 3 years,
3
and then you're
years.
talking about splitting the cost
Yes.
between towns, if you could do that.
Yeah, that was one of the proposals that I'm willing to sit and chat about. I think it's very much viable. You share the staff for important things that go on throughout the year, like hose testing, pump testing, other details. Of course, emergency responses are very critical. I would like to see that, and if we don't, maybe it's a 3-town proposal. I don't know how it really works out yet, but definitely Casco is a big border of ours, and we do a lot together. So it's one of those that may work well for us. Wyndham's just so busy that they're just busy. I mean, they're going to hit 3,000 calls easily this year. For what they have for staffing now, they can barely keep up with it. So, not that we don't want to work with them, we do, and we do work well with them. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at with the area towns, and obviously reaching out to Gray and strengthening our relationships with them. We'll be working hand in hand on the North Raymond Road and the lake roads, et cetera, of Little Sebago. These things are critically important, and again, there may be things that we can achieve there purchasing wise and so forth. We already do a lot of training together, and I did put it in there, but because there's more advanced stuff that we could possibly fund in the future. Offer prorated employee benefits. So we looked at it and mentioned it the last time, and it came back in our survey from our members as something that was of interest, if we could offer the deferred compensation plan to the call membership as well as the people who are already entitled to it. There would be a match request there, and this is one of those that I can't really put numbers and figures with yet. I know what the match is, but I just don't know what the input's going to be. There are a few people who would be very interested, and I am sure that likewise there's a lot who are not. Of our current staff full-time, I think there's only 2 of us putting into our retirements. Pretty much correct to that. None of the medic staff is at all and hasn't been. Which is probably a shame that they're missing out on that benefit, but that's not my problem, I guess, at this point. I think that would be a good thing, and that would be different than most towns do, so it's kind of a unique idea.
But it's interesting, though, that our young people are not taking advantage of that benefit when that's, I think, one of the most critical things they should be doing.
Absolutely.
And so that takes a little wind out of my sails on the notion of young people should be thinking about retirement.
And while I agree with that 100%, it's not this generation's priority for some reason.
They don't understand compounding.
No, they do not.
But to walk away from the percent match is,
Yeah.
no, I
free
don't
money.
get it.
Crazy.
It is free money. Bruce, I'm going
Sure,
to jump in if that's all
absolutely.
right, just because we are on a limited time. And I know that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get it beforehand, so we could look it over and come up with any kind
Sure.
of questions. One of your comments up above, that you're saying too, that at a meeting with Wyndham, Chief Libby, that they're literally, even to Wyndham, who you said was almost $5 an hour more on certain areas, they're not even keeping the guys, is what it is. And I think it's more that people are just trying to build
Yeah.
up for second and third jobs is what it is. So,
Yeah.
You
There is that piece of it, you're right. Absolutely.
so when you look at that, that's kind of like, oh no. And I totally just went blank on my other comment I was going to ask.
Well, unfortunately, there's a limited pool of people who have this, education, training, and ability, and so here we are, competing, and
Yes. Can I add to that?
Sure.
South Portland, one of the lieutenants is the union rep for the vice president for the state, was just in meeting with me. They just hired 7, and of the 7, 6 are card-carrying union members in other local departments. So they're robbing from that same pool in South Portland now. And again, that had to do with benefits and money and working conditions for sure.
So that's why I'm a little concerned on that. And I think it's hard sometimes to compare ourselves to Wyndham because they're so much bigger. You also mentioned in here, since our last conversation, that we have lost another full-time paramedic.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, it was Brian.
Okay, so he
resigned.
was the one that was
He was
mentioned.
the one. Okay, I did
Okay, I
mention
want to
him
make
before.
sure that was
Okay.
clarified on that one.
Yep,
Okay.
then I had mentioned him before.
And he was the one that was actually union that negotiated his own salary for the union. So he'd be the chief union steward.
He was the union steward, and they never have gotten to the point where negotiations have even made a proposal yet, so he was never in that yet.
Okay, okay.
He was just a member of the union the first time.
Right.
Normally, we meet with union leadership with the steward there, but the steward's not actively, at least in my experience, hasn't been actively a participant.
No, has not. So.
I see some of these things as just being normal stuff that probably other companies do, like the advertising. You know, I think my concern is when you've got a full-time employee, they get benefits with being that full-time employee. Do you know what I mean? So when you take that away from it, when you take them away, that benefit for being a full-time employee, what happens is it becomes then, wait a second, why are the part-times getting it too? And I still fully believe that anything that's offered, again, has got to be offered across the board for all employees that are either part-time or whatever it is. That's just me. So I'm gonna have you guys.
I don't want
Go
to
ahead.
define across the board. That's not limited to the fire department.
No, I mean it's
And
got to be
that's-
all
That's
employees.
where one of the rubs is right there. And even going further, if we are successful in withdrawing, then we bring in that pool
Yes.
of other people.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Don?
There isn't, I agree with you from the standpoint of, I guess fairness and equity, and that would be absolutely correct. There's no legal prohibition, and we do have, at least in some of the instances, there's no legal prohibition. There may be in some of the proposals, but basically there are different work rules for public works, there are different work rules for the union, different, so it's something you could do, and it may not be a good thing to do because you'd feel that need to have equity. And so, but we tried to come up with anything and everything we could think of.
No, I think you did a great
But
job.
but I appreciate that sentiment, and there was a question, well, what if somebody wanted to take Teresa asked me, somebody take a self-enrichment course, and it was in the administration side, and we allowed it on the, public safety side, and for part-time call people, but not for our full-time people. I think that would probably cause a rub.
I did definitely would, and if they take a class, that pertains to the fire department, whatever, I have no problem with that. But if we're giving them 50% back because it's a personal enrichment, they can stay with they can get like a degree after so long and go somewhere else and use it based on our money.
Well, that is not unprecedented either, by the way. We've trained several people who have gone on to bigger towns.
Right.
Well,
So-
and yeah,
So
Ross
that's-
or Jamie?
I mean, you have to kind of make sure you keep your eye on the end game, okay?
Right.
Which says, the one that I see kind of biggest bang for the buck is, if we let people get into the retirement savings pool, but your end game is that you're trying to fill your empty slots. So you would have to say it's part-time, but they have to do a certain number of hours
Yes.
per
Yes.
week
Yep.
mandated in order to be in the pool. Otherwise, you haven't solved your problem. All you've done is put money out without
Right.
getting where you're trying to get to.
Absolutely. Part of that is that they'd have to maintain the member in good standing status, if you will, as a call member. In order to be priority to get shifts, they have to be member in good standing. It means there's a certain criteria they need.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's, when you look at it from a dollars and cents standpoint, if we got someone that's 20-hour a week, we're not talking huge dollars there. You're using it as an enticement tool, but if you're gonna do that, you gotta have the other stick, which says, yes, you're gonna do that, but it also means one weekend a month, or, something like that. You've gotta condition it so that you get where we're trying to get at the end of the game.
More
Correct.
buck out of them for,
What do you think about the idea of rewarding, and this would be public safety people, call people, based on longevity, people who are loyal and stay with us, outside of the salary would get some sort of annual, stipend recognition for longevity, for meeting all the training requirements, attending a certain number of calls, being available, and being with the department as an active member for certain benchmarks of time.
I have some problems with that too, just because that to me would go in the merit, but you have people that have been here 18, 19 years and they don't get longevity pay that I know of. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they do.
We don't have longevity.
And I think what happens, right, and I think what happens is that gets put into the steps. So you've got somebody all of a sudden that's been here 18, 20 years and like, wait a second, I'm gonna go to the fire department because they get longevity and I don't get it and I've been here a lot more. I think that would be a really bad rub to do, but I think that goes into
Not to me, I'm not gonna join the fire department.
Well, I think that
They've
goes
seen
into
him
the
with the
steps
jaws of
program.
life.
Yeah.
But I
I think
mean-
that goes into the steps program though that you guys had mentioned before.
Yeah.
You know, creating those steps as to where somebody is.
Yeah.
You know, like you got a year to, okay, get your firefighter 1, firefighter 2, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And then with that, you work with the merit system is what it is. You know, so they're gonna get the increases because they're doing more. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, I agree with that, because I think there could be an issue with, I've been here 20 years and I don't get this, but somebody else gets it. And I think we need to be, as I said earlier, we need to be fair across the board.
I mean,
We did the merit system to get away from.
I mean, because, otherwise you're in this situation of you're doing an increase because the person's been there.
Right.
You're not doing an increase because.
Well,
they're
been there and contributing
Well-
and keeping up on training and.
Which is a performance measure.
Which is a performance measure, which,
No, maybe-
which can fall under the merit thing. But if you're gonna go to just a step system, that's one thing, if you're gonna be a merit system, but if you're gonna do both at the same time, now you're doubling up on issues there, so you kinda have to look and see which way do you wanna be? Do you wanna be merit, or do you wanna be automatic steps?
Well, this wouldn't be, I'm kind of blending both things because it's not automatic. You have to hit certain benchmarks. You have to have your training up to date, your certifications up to date, you have to fill a number of shifts a month, you have to perform satisfactorily, you have to stay with us for a period of time. And I'm not talking about, there'd be significant benchmarks. So I think it does tie back to merit as well, but it was just an idea. I was just curious what you thought of it,
Well, I think it has merit.
to look at further.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think,
Don't-
I get
don't
your point though,
discount it,
tying it to
right.
merit. I
I
get
mean,
it.
on training, I have no problem in paying
Yes.
while they're paying for the training and paying them while they're at the training. I have
Right.
I don't have any problem with
Right.
that. I mean, that we should.
I think it's fair.
You should do
You're
that.
requiring it of it, yeah.
Sure.
Because, you're asking them to take time out of their life to go and do that. And
Yes.
that's logical.
One of the ones too that I was looking at this, I believe, wrong because of the workers' comp thing, because I thought because the workers' comp,
Yes.
it was going to hurt them more because workers' comp takes into consideration of what your income is, and if you're giving them income as far as a disability, but then I think I was corrected to say that there's a disability
Well,
insurance, but maybe
Yes.
I'm,
What's wrong?
Right.
So
So-
what happens with us is that we have people in different classifications, in their full-time job.
right.
We have people who make really significant salaries who are doing the, part-time work or a call member. And so, we have CFOs, we have people who are
Right.
professionals, engineers, accountants,
Absolutely.
people like that. And so, you would never be able to replicate what they make in their day careers. But when they're injured on the job performing, public safety work, a fire call or rescue call, when they're gonna get, compensated for the lost wages for the town work, it really leaves them with a significant exposure and gap.
It does.
And so we were looking at ways to mitigate that. It's probably not an income protection plan, because income protection plans per se are for injuries off duty, out of the line of duty. So we're looking at other private sector type insurance coverages, and we may or may not be able to do anything with that. And the attorney, I think, had some issues with that as well.
Well,
So
essentially, you're looking at either short-term or long-term disability.
Yeah.
That's what,
In
yeah.
which case,
Yep.
the amount is reduced by whatever they get from
Yep.
workers' comp.
Mm-hmm.
You're also capped by the 62%.
Yes.
I was gonna say
Right.
usually it's 60%,
And so
yeah.
now it depends,
It is.
if they have a, they're much better off if they have a short-term or long-term policy from their work. If you do that, it's based on what they're getting paid here. They're gonna get 60% of what they're getting paid here, not necessarily 60% of what they were getting paid at their others. So, you have to look at where that shakes out. And if they have one there, they're not gonna get extra here. You're still limited to what those can pay.
I spoke with the Aflac rep, the local guy here anyways, he came in and he presented, he had a spreadsheet and you can buy certain amounts. The problem with it is that it does pay on top of, their plan did pay on top of everything. However, the problem is it's pretty expensive when you start looking at, $29 a month per person based on like a $30,000 income coverage. And we're not talking $30,000 in income, we're talking.
Yeah, but that's the issue. They're not asking to be protected for the 30,000, they're asking to be protected for the 100,000.
Right.
And you can't write that on because that's not what you're paying, that's not what you're
Because
paying
the
here.
workers' comp is based on what this salary is
Right,
compared to,
no,
yes,
no,
no,
I
I know,
understand.
that's why I thought that's
And
pretty
it's-
tricky as far
It's
as.
pretty hard, and it's becoming, because it's happened to us twice, and fortunately, this latest one is not something that's taking the person out of their work at their primary
Which is good.
job. If it was, this would be very detrimental, because we're headed into the 4th month of not being able to do this job, and the possibility of several more months is on the table right now of not being able to do anything fire rescue wise, which, while I'm not okay with that, I'm okay with that because it's not their primary job. Their life will go on and their household income is supported. So, that's what we're looking at. It's hard to entice people when they know that that's their risk. That if I get hurt here, I could be out
Right.
at my job.
Can you, one of my suggestions would be to get a merit workup done. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So kind of like what we had and do it based on, or do a step program, either or. Do you know what I mean?
We can use and have used in the past the merit program for all the membership, so
Okay.
across the board. I think the problem ultimately is that everybody else is just leaps and bounded above us in a lot of cases with our members.
I thought we were pretty close.
We're closer now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
We just
salaries,
want to make
yep.
sure,
But
let's
yeah,
keep up with that
Yeah,
and not fall that far behind again.
But I mean, the other, I think the bigger, a bigger push has to be put on looking at the regionalization and whatnot. Because
That's huge,
at the
yeah.
end of the day, if we're at level X and somebody else is at level Y and they're both fighting the same fire, where are you? So now,
Oh, the age-old problem.
so,
Yes, too.
I mean, and there's a lot to be gained from regionalization, from equipment usage, personnel usage, and everything else. And I think that, somehow there's got to be more, a bigger push there because that's, everyone's got the same problem. So if everyone is going to, all you're doing is raising the stakes, but you're not improving the pool.
No,
Well, we've been proponents, adherents of this idea for a decade at least.
Anyway.
And there was a study done, probably half that long ago, sponsored by Casco and CDBG application funded study on the feasibility of combining. And there was merit in that idea, but we're going to reopen the discussion with our neighboring departments. The problem to some degree, and it's changing, but the problem is that they're structured differently than we are. I think they've moved finally away in Casco from the elected sort
Yes,
of
they have,
department,
completely.
which is a huge difference from what we have. And so there is some possibility. We're going to try to bring them in. We're going to offer them a dinner and say, let's sit down and talk about how we can work together on this, staffing most notably, but also on capital acquisition project, equipment acquisitions, sharing of resources, purchasing, joint purchasing. I have hope. I have hope that things are changing.
Can you, I have to move this on because our next meeting is starting is what it is, and everybody's like, can you do the merit thing and get something together for us on that? And do some talks on the regionalization to see, I'm hoping that there can be some kind of a compromise in between both, are there different towns? I think, is there anything else that you want him to?
Explore the FEMA grants a little bit further.
Well, that was the one I was going to say.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one I like, is if we could get a grant that would full fund an employee for 3 years and then split it amongst a couple of towns.
So the thing is, if you get that, then you can kind of task that person too with trying to work some of the regionalization side.
Right, and here's something I'll tell you also, is that like when we put an application in for, I don't know if it was FEMA or what it was, for a used fire truck, nobody did that. Nobody wanted a used fire truck. So we ended up buying a demo. I'm going to tell you that very few towns are going to put in for a shared interdepartmental employee. That's going to be unique.
I know, it would be unique.
All right, then we are going to end this workshop. And we'll make another meeting to do this, another workshop to do this together.
He's gotta reset the.
Yes. So, we are closing this workshop now, and we are going on a brief hold until Kevin resets the video. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting, and we're back for our regular meeting. We do have a quorum. There's 3 of us tonight. Can I have a motion to accept
The meetings from the last meeting? Move the meetings from our last,
Second.
minutes from our last meeting there.
All in favor? All right, new business. Ingo, would you like to come up and talk about the Sebago Lake Rotary Annual Ice Derby? We missed you last meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the message.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Ingo Hartig. I live on Oakledge Road in Raymond, Maine, and I'm representing the Sebago Lake Rotary Club, and I'm respectfully requesting a fishing derby to be held on the 16th and 17th of February.
Think we're gonna have the ice?
Are you guaranteeing ice this year?
Sort of.
So, do you have any questions for him? It's pretty much standard from what yeah.
And this is is it the 15th Derby?
Yes, it is the 15th.
So it's sort of a benchmark derby.
Yes, we should advertise it as such. Yeah.
No major changes?
No major, we still have our polar dip, our ice dip, and everything is going to be the same, right? Yeah.
So as in prior years, we'll have a organizational meeting of all the parties around the lake, all the, I guess, people in the sponsoring agency, the Rotary Club, the public safety agencies, and so we've been, very fortunate to have everybody work closely
Yeah.
for years, and so Bruce pulls that together. It's always a great meeting, so we'll look forward to doing that and working out the logistics. And the main issue is, will we have ice? If we have ice, we'll be good to go. We'll have everything planned and ready to go.
Right,
So I look forward to working with you.
thank you.
Yep, do we need a motion? Go ahead, motion. One of you guys?
Move to approve the fishing derby for February 16, 17.
Second?
All in favor? All right. Cool, thanks,
Thank
Ingo.
you very much.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
All right, we're gonna, unless you guys wanna ask Louise questions, we can either skip over it, or do you wanna go ahead and?
I think
It's consideration of a new zoning board of appeals member, and it would be Louise Lester.
I don't know if Louise was invited, was she, Sue?
She was.
But I think she's obviously well-known to the Board of Selectmen,
Yes.
and, she's a longtime town employee. She served officially as clerk for about a 15-year period, for significantly longer than that as doing the work with a different title, and so she's somebody who's done the minutes for the zoning board, well informed, I think, about the zoning board. She ran for selectman and drew a significant number of votes a few years ago, so she's somebody I think who has quite a lot of community support and has given a lot to the town. So I think she'd be a good candidate.
And you may notice that the expiration date for her term is this coming June, and that's because she would be taking Larry Murch's seat, who is retiring.
I would move the appointment of Louise Lester to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Great. Sue, how many spots do we have open on those boards, by the way?
On the zoning board, they will have no, actually, they have a full contingent right now, I believe, including an alternate. And on the planning board, they have 3 openings, but they also have 3 applications that they'll be bringing forth in February. They couldn't get a quorum for a meeting in December, so they can't meet on the 3 applications until January, and they meet the day after the select board meets.
Okay.
So it will have to be the February meeting when those names are brought
And that's for
forth.
the planning board?
That's for the planning board, and at that point, they'll have all 7 members.
Does that throw you guys off, Scott? So maybe the planning board can possibly rearrange their meeting to get those 3 members on there? Does that?
We have 2 things coming up. Alfred Mann one, which just needs to be signed. I think it just needs to be signed off on a revision of a plan. But, I mean, it's not overly, that would be the only thing that would be pending, but everything else, there really
Can
isn't much.
wait it out?
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
I believe so.
all right. If not, have them switch their meeting. That works. All right, next, discussion of budget schedule and goals for FY 2019-2020. Don and Kathy.
Kathy has prepared a draft budget schedule, which is in the e-packet for your review, and it's along the lines of last year, some date changes, and I don't know what other adjustments she might have made, but
I wanted to put in that, just put in a notice in the budget schedule for January 15th that will be the date that agency submissions are due in order to be included in the budget. So I'm asking if it's okay to add that. The other concern that you guys had was April vacation. So if you look at this, you see that the joint meeting for the budget workshop is March 26th, and then we're deferring the warrant article review and approval until the 23rd, which is the week after school vacation, and then having another, then the following Tuesday will be the budget finance for them to vote. So you sort of go from, so the little bit of difference is March 26th to April 23rd, and then 1 week later, the budget finance committee their final meeting to get their recommendations.
There was always a back-end deadline to get it to the printer in time. Does that meet that requirement?
It does meet that requirement.
It
When does it have to be there by?
It does.
Generally by mid-May is the very latest. We aim for the first week of May.
I
The
don't know if
printer
I-
we currently uses turns things around very quickly.
I don't know if I can do the week of April 23rd, but I don't know for sure on that, so.
That is the week after April vacation.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the select board anyway.
Yeah.
That's the
And
select
none
board.
of us have kids in school
I just said I might not be able to make,
on the 23rd.
yeah, that would be me. I'm on the select board.
That's not the school vacation week.
No,
No.
the week after school.
I know, and that might be the week that I'm taking vacation.
Okay. The weekend, don't care.
The week, yeah, he doesn't care. Oh, says they don't care. I don't need
That
to.
one is subject to
I
change.
mean, if we
yeah.
have, if we have to move that, then.
We can, yeah.
I
As the
would-
time
I
gets
should
closer,
know.
But
we
we
can
would,
set that down.
I
I
would
should know
think,
soon, though.
I would think if we had to move it, we would move it
Forward.
ahead so that they can
Right.
still meet the April 30th. So they
Mhm.
can still meet the April 30th to be able to get to the
If
13th.
we move it ahead, then we're gonna cross over on,
we're gonna lose Bruce.
mhm.
Bruce is taking a vacation. I'm not sure how critical that is, but we'll lose him.
Bruce is gonna be in February 26th for public safety. We're gonna have
Right.
the March 26th. Let's just leave it, and then I'll let you know closer.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll end up being some adjustments, but what we try to do initially is to maneuver around everybody's
Mhm.
schedules, but to keep it similar as we can to the previous year.
Problem last year was Budget Finance Committee had some
When do you,
parents involved, and the school vacation
April
was
1? Okay.
Mhm.
an issue.
Mhm.
All right, so he's leaving April 1st. All right, let's just do it and see. I'll know soon.
We'll know in February.
Yeah. All right, we're good on that, everybody then? All right. Renewal of the liquor license for Cafe Sebago. Dawn's gonna do that, but I've got a couple questions.
Oh, did you wanna do your,
Oh.
Your goals.
recommendations, your goals?
Sorry, didn't even see that. Sorry, I apologize. You can sit a second, Bruce. Thanks. All right, sorry about that. I'm thinking that was pretty easy, way too easy. Okay. Does anybody have any additions, subtractions, whatever on this?
Did you
Not at
give
this
them
point.
last year?
I did.
What is the circulation on this right now?
The circulation,
Right.
just the select board.
Why don't I read it in so that the Budget Finance Committee is represented here. The first one is maintaining a lowering tax rate. Second one is continuing commitment to improve the maintenance of town roads. Third is the undesignated fund balance can be utilized within existing policy to accomplish priority number 1. Number 4, all budget areas on the table for discussion and review. And number 5, core services driven budget. Those are the 5 issues this year. Pretty consistent with last year's issues.
Actually, the goals are
Yep.
a simplified version of
Right.
pretty much the same goals we've maintained for about a decade.
Right.
We
They were
had
much
a
more
lot that we
complicated.
took out.
Right, they were much more
Right.
complicated, but these are, I think, the essence of all of those goals, that larger set of goals, which might have been 15 or 20 goals, which is frankly too many goals probably. So this is kind of boiling it down to what all of those represented. And I think it's been this way for a couple of years, maybe.
Yep.
Good.
Good.
You good on it?
I'm good.
All right,
Okay, so we'll get those out.
we're good on it. Anything else to add, Dawn or Kathy?
Just looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Right.
right.
Right. All right, moving on. Renewal of liquor license for Cafe Sebago.
It has my name on it, but I'm gonna ask Bruce. You said that Wayne was
Yeah.
gonna be here.
Well, yeah.
Do you want me to skip over it and come back? Okay.
No, because Wayne right now is on a rescue call, and I think at Maine Medical Center. We had doubles at the same time, which was also why I was late, like almost late. I have reviewed the report really quickly, and I think there was just a couple items, and one is a point of clarification is that the hood system is licensed currently. Correct, I believe, so.
Did you ask the question?
That,
Oh, I was gonna say.
no.
You were looking at
yeah, and that it did need a cleaning. And the other one was provision of proof that the Christmas tree does meet the state of Maine standards for a Christmas tree in a place of assembly, which means it either has to be a live tree dipped in flame retardant or has to be a certified fake tree that is also stamped as by the manufacturer as being flame retardant, or a live tree that is in a root ball.
I got a couple
Can be
questions
done.
on that, just because
Yes.
there's quite a few
Yes.
things that came up. And a lot of the things that were on here too said that they would be fixed in January. So my question is, did Wayne go in before the time was allotted? Because I guess one of the things was the cleaning has to be done like every 6 months.
6 months.
So did he go in, first off, did
We're
they?
just off schedule, I think, with the owner.
Early
not
or
to-
later?
I think we're early, so it's still under, but not quite done.
I think we got a February
Yeah,
expiration on
yes,
this.
Yes.
February expiration. So
So-
things aren't quite lining up,
So in other
as
words,
they
so
always
when-
have been.
So when they were noted
Yes,
for things, it technically shouldn't have been noted until like January, because they still had till January to fix these things. But it's technically on their record.
technically it's there, yeah. It's just is a notification that it has to get done for this next cycle. I think in our end of it, we've always noted it, David always noted it, before that, Craig always noted those items, but they just never became a big issue. It's just they're a little bit out of cycle, a little bit out of sequence.
So what is the
It's not a
resolve
huge
to these
thing.
items?
So, as long as it gets done on its cycle, so before it does expire, as long as it gets done, and that would just involve us, in that case, to make a visit again, to say, yes, it actually did get done. And that's something that we can do. I don't see that it's probably feasible nor realistic to expect us to push back a liquor license or the occupant to move up their inspections off cycle.
Well,
If
no,
we
and that's
left
why
it at that,
I'm looking at these and I'm going, okay, to have that, like what I know on like my record,
It'd be
it's
tough.
like, it is, and,
Yeah.
and these are some, to me, in my head violations, but then I'm reading too that it wasn't due until January, that's why I wanted to get a clarification on.
So it's technically not expired.
Exactly,
It's coming up
so they're
on it.
still, they're not in violation,
Right.
but these kind of show as they're in violation, I think. it
Right,
states.
as a note, so that they'll get done before that, because we have nothing to really come back on unless it's noted, is the feeling. So that's why I wanted to do it that way.
Okay,
And Madam Chairman,
yes,
the state asks them to get their paperwork in 60 days ahead of expiration. and they try and do that. So that's why you're looking at it now,
And
so that
okay.
they would have that 60 days.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because I was looking, going, oh,
So you're anticipating going back in when?
We will have to go in before the expiration, whatever the date is.
February
I don't have it in
So
front
if
of
we
me.
were to approve it conditioned upon that
Yes.
inspection passing, then we'd be all set.
That would be the way to go.
That would be my motion.
I will second that motion. Can we see a written confirmation that it's been?
Yes, you will.
everything's been done.
Yep, we would gladly forward that.
Yeah, I guess I just was surprised, but then as you read through it. All right, all in favor? Okay. Good, thanks, Bruce.
As an aside, Bruce, should he be signing these reports as a firefighter or as an inspector?
Probably the inspector, and I didn't know, what is it signed as?
Firefighter.
Yeah, I'll have to just, you should sign it as an inspector.
Wait a second, last time he signed it as an inspector, we were quite questioning it, now he's doing it
Yes.
as a firefighter, yeah.
Litigation.
Either way, it's an official position of the department.
That's fine. Use the appropriate title,
All right, yeah, because I'm reading on the bottom, the occupancy was found in compliance, but with noted items, and having those items on your record is rough, it really is, yeah, so.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Citizen petition pertaining to Lake Region Explorer support. Sue.
So on November 27th, I received a petition in the town office for the following question. To the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Raymond, Maine, we, the undersigned, being registered voters of the town, request the municipal officers place the following article before the voters at the next secret ballot. To see if the town will vote to raise by taxation and appropriate $10,000 for the Lakes Region Explorer to cover annual funding in fiscal year 2019-20 and through 20. All of the signatures were collected on Election Day, November 6th. They were all collected by the same person, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, George Bradt, it's B-R-A-D-T. Oh, there's Wayne.
Just missed you.
I certified the signatures, which means after putting in all of the new voters for Election Day and doing all the corrections and whatnot, I went through and made sure that all of the signatures, or whether or not all the signatures on the petitions, were registered voters. And what I found was they had turned in 13 pages with a total of 258 signatures. Of those signatures, 253 are certified to be registered voters in Raymond. 3 weren't registered. 1 had crossed out their own signature before filling out the whole line, which is valid. And 1 contained no signature. And by that I mean they had printed their name all the way across where their name and where their signature is supposed to be. And on their voter card, they signed a signature. Had they printed their name on the voter card, that would have been acceptable. But they had a cursive signature on the
wow.
voter card and not a cursive signature on the petition.
Okay.
So that wasn't valid. So that's what that one means. Because this November was a gubernatorial election, that's what the number of signatures is based on, is the gubernatorial. And this was turned in after the gubernatorial, so it had to go with the new number of 10% of the voters that voted for governor, and that was 2,551, making the number of signatures needed to gather 255. And
So
they
he's
had
short.
253
So
valid.
he's short.
Yes,
So technically, the petition is invalid.
that's correct.
So there's no action for us to be taken tonight.
Not if you don't choose to, no.
There's no reason to take action.
So end of discussion.
Yes.
All right. That was easy. Quick.
Did you want to declare it an invalid petition?
It is declared an invalid
I mean, the
petition.
clerk has said that, but
The clerk declared it an invalid petition.
Yep. So we're just saying.
endorsing the action of the clerk or anything like that?
Yep. So we're not even gonna act
Okay.
on it. So, yep, because it's not valid and. All right, moving on. consideration of extending the moratorium of manufactured mobile homes in the shoreland zone. Scott DeBork.
Well, currently, what we're trying to do is to work on some of the definitions. We had a legal interpretation as to what we're allowed to do. So right now, it's just more or less the time part where we're trying to look and make sure that how we're gonna word this, what do we have to tweak in it, so we're still in that mode currently.
So we're not making any decisions, you guys are just doing, I think from the meetings that I've watched, you're just doing pretty much like definitions and clarifying.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything as to exactly going to be their recommendation towards that yet.
Okay.
We did look at, like I said, there was some legal interpretation that modular homes are allowed in all residential districts, manufactured homes, I'm sorry. Manufactured homes are allowed in every residential district, but there's two types of manufactured homes, so you can
Have one, type two?
have one and allow one in one and not allow another one in the same zone.
So you want 180 days, they want?
Yes.
Any questions for Scott right now?
Not for Scott,
Okay, then for who?
for you. Is this within our purview to just extend the moratorium?
I-
Yes, it is.
Yes, it
I was
is.
gonna say, I think what happens, my understanding is we had to have a public vote, a town meeting
To initiate?
to initiate it, but we can extend it.
Yes.
Yeah, for this,
That
I
is
think we can
correct.
only do it just this once.
Then I so move to extend the moratorium for 180 days.
Second?
All in favor? Okay. Quick, easy. Love this. Sue, I don't even think it's out of work yet.
No, she's not.
No, yeah, see, we get in and get out. All right, so I'm gonna actually come back to that, consideration of that, because Sue, I know will be coming up.
Okay.
So I'm gonna jump to public comment.
Let's go.
Madam Chairman, could we
Yes.
go, could
Go
I
back.
read the motion that I have for what you just voted to make sure that it is what you wanted? Because I had pre-written
I
the
move
motion.
Sorry, she
To extend, yeah, I had pre-written,
Extend the existing moratorium.
The existing
for
moratorium,
180
okay.
days.
so I'll take out the verbiage that I put in.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's it. Is it a legal technicality, like if we don't
On
say?
that one, I think we need to be careful.
Yeah, that's why I had pre-written it.
So do you wanna go with hers? that she
No,
agreed?
because extending the existing for a further 180 days is correct. I do have in parens in there, the current moratorium expires on January 27th, 2019. This will extend the moratorium
From January
until
27th.
July 26th, 2019.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right. All right, we're gonna come back to consideration of taxes, public comment. Nobody? We actually have public and there's no public comment? Wayne, sorry, we literally missed you by like 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, he explained, we're good. So, all right,
We can go through the rest.
selectmen comment. I think you had something about the issue.
Oh, you know, January 11th was gonna be is it 10th or 11th?
I thought it was-
What do we move that to, Sue?
11.
The 11th. January 11th, we will be, the RSU 14 Withdrawal Committee will be having a workshop, and the public is invited to come give comments at that meeting. What we're looking for is inputs from the community on what their thoughts are on the withdrawal, what their fears are, what their hopes are that it could look like. We're trying to get inputs on that so that the committee can do additional work on trying to come up with what the plan's going to look like and things like that. So we're trying to get the word out to everybody to come into that meeting and give their comments, and if they can't, emails are great and things like that too.
Yep, I mean, there's gonna be open public meetings like that to get input, is what we're trying to do, so we can keep the communication open, back and forth, right? Alright, any other selectmen comment?
Annually, there's a document put out called the Raymond brochure. And this is the little flyer that goes into the businesses around town. we're having a vitalization committee Thursday morning to make some changes on that brochure, so there may be some changes on the brochure,
Cool.
put it that way,
Anxious to see it.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. But hopefully it'll be published again this year.
All right. Town managers report.
All right, thank you. We'll start with the confirming the dates for the upcoming regular meetings. January 8th, 19, and February 12th, 19.
Good.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so reminder of upcoming holiday schedule. Tuesday, December 25th, Christmas Day. Tuesday, January 1st, New Year's Day.
Good. Good. Sorry.
Okay. I thought I'd also give you just a little brief update on where we are. You might wonder with winter conditions upon us. We have finally, Nathan and I have been on a little bit of a spending spree. I say Nathan, not Don, but we did acquire, as you know, 3 used trucks from the state of Vermont, municipal trucks in good condition, 2 of which have now been put in service. One, the yellow one, is still awaiting some minimal additional repairs, and but will be available for service when it's needed, which is not now. We have 2 new trucks. You may have noticed if you are a drive-by frequenter of the East Raymond Station, we have a red 2019 International Harvester cabin chassis. That's a large wheeler type truck that's going up to Howard Fairfield Truck Equipment probably in a month or 2 to get outfitted. And then last night, hearing just for one night only, was a 2019 Ford F550 1-ton, and that was finished in Nathan Silver, I call it. It was very similar to the last several pickup trucks Nathan's had and the one in the fire department. So that was delivered and just in time, and was shuttled up to Skowhegan to begin outfitting tomorrow. So that'll get a plow and dump body and be ready to go. So I guess the complement of equipment that we had hoped to acquire, we have done so. So we're ready and raring to go to do snow removal ourselves. That's probably the big news.
Good. All right. Treasurer's warrant. We're stalling for time until Sue gets in here.
Move the treasurer's warrant at $161,855.56.
So moved.
In favor?
Second. Third.
Third. So we're just gonna hang out here while Sue runs to her car.
Well, yeah.
It's, I have a question for you guys, because the next warrant theoretically would be Christmas Day. So I'm thinking of doing it like at the end of that week. But if I don't really get enough, I'm just gonna have a 3-week warrant and we'll do it in January.
Okay.
So
If that were-
if anyone's not gonna be
I'm
around,
not gonna be here after the 27th.
you won't be.
No,
But you'll be around on the 26th?
I will.
All right.
Augusta's calling
I
me.
can come in and pre-sign.
It goes with that. That keeps it all good. All right, we're gonna look at these. We're gonna go back and look at these taxes.
She
I
has
might
put-
be able to do
Yeah, I mean-
something for you,
She has put an explanation on.
Most of them
Yeah.
are in payment plans.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
which,
You remember this page used to be a lot bigger.
One of the problems
Oh.
with this,
We've been stalling. We need to be coming.
I'm here.
I said she's gonna run to her car and get in here. So no, the pages used to be a lot longer that we used to have, and Sue has done a fantastic job getting these down. I'm gonna catch your breath. We went through the whole rest of the agenda.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, it was quick tonight. Yeah.
so you're on.
Well, you have to get
Remember-
me out of there before 7 o'clock.
We're in and out of here.
Okay.
I mean, in looking at the list, you've got most everybody is either in payment plans or you've got action going on with all of those. There's none that you're, at this point, that you're having major issues with?
No, none of them. The only one that Scott Libby, which I got an email today from a lawyer's office that wanted to know what the payment would be as of January 15 of 19. So I think he's still working on trying to get a mortgage.
Okay.
But everybody else you got, yeah.
So when, correct me if I'm wrong, but the payment plan, $200 a month, that goes along with current taxes, is that correct?
Not always.
Okay, which ones aren't?
Well, I have to apply everything to the older taxes.
Yes, I understand that.
So-
I always thought that the theory was they had to pay the current year's taxes plus the payment plan would catch up on arrears.
Yes. Sydney Thorne and Cox, they usually pay. Those are the two big ones.
Do they pay the whole entire amount, or do they pay
No,
on payments?
they make an extra payment.
Just to get them out of the
Yeah.
foreclosure stage?
Yeah, then they're not, they can't get out of foreclosure pay until everything's paid.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong ones on that one. But you have two on here that do. That's why I was wondering.
Oh, the one that says usually pays before foreclosure?
Mhm.
I sent out my 30-day notices. And these are the same people that every year, they wait for that notice to come out, and then they pay their taxes.
But they pay all of it, or they just pay?
All of it, yes.
Oh, okay.
So that they
So
don't
these are
go
good for it then.
No, they pay all of that year.
that year.
And then they're still.
Another
current-
year of
They're
sending
still
another
current
notice.
and liened, but they're just out of foreclosure. Isn't that
Yeah, they
correct?
pay it before foreclosure happens.
Oh my God.
So
But
basically,
they don't
they're,
pay everything.
They're using us as their float.
Exactly.
Exactly, at 7%, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
I know some of these you have talked to about possibly upping their payments.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them went well, some of them did not go well, but so you're just taking right now what you are getting from them just to keep the payments
Just to keep the payments
Yep.
going. Yeah.
Do we have anything that we are trying to sell? I thought we had one property that didn't.
We do.
we do, yeah.
Tenny Hill, we still have some property up there.
And what's the status on that?
I haven't heard a bite yet.
We,
Is it with a
we-
realtor,
At
or
one,
is it?
at one point, I thought we had, some action and had some interest, and, but that fell through, and so, right now, I think we're just actively marketing it, and I think we made a price adjustment downward slightly,
Yes.
but not significantly, and the realtor's still optimistic, but it's not prime time, I don't think, for selling something like that, so I don't have any update.
I don't think if it's, gonna sell, it won't sell until spring at this
Right.
point, because
And it's just land?
it's just land.
Yep.
It's just land, but it has some, access issues, frontage issues, this
Yeah.
sort of thing, but, in my mind, it's most desirable, of course, to an abutter, and that's
Okay.
where some of the interest has been in the past.
You're waiting for the price to come back.
Possibly, but I think it's a buildable lot. It's got some issues, though, I think. You familiar?
I'm not, that's why I wrote it
Okay.
down, so I
Okay,
guess I get some questions on it.
all right. So I don't have anything, a substantive update on that, other than we've lowered the price, actively marketing it. Realtor's optimistic we'll eventually sell it.
So, but compared to what, like I said, when I first got on
5
board,
years
like,
ago.
yeah, this is great work on that.
Yeah.
Other towns would be quite envious.
It
so.
would be.
Yeah. And I think going, Sue's done a great job, but the other thing that I think is a little bit innovative and has worked out well, and that's going to the realtor approach. I like it, that's
I
worked.
think so. I think
And
that
just to get rid of
works.
these things that are not of any interest or use to the town, and so that's worked.
The personal
And it's worked
property
better than
list,
bidding.
how's that?
Personal property list, I did go to class, and I talked to him about Cocatosi. Cocatosi, there's not much we can do, as far as, I was hoping we could tax the owner of the land for the personal property, but we can't. We have to, the personal property belongs to each individual person.
Okay.
As far as businesses, I found out from Sue, she went to a class, that if they're trying to get a liquor license, I can call the state and say they have not paid their personal property tax, and the state will not issue them their liquor license until the personal property tax is paid.
Seriously?
So, yes.
Did you guys know that? Wayne, did you know that too with the liquor license? Oh, wow.
That's not an
I
issue
only
in
have
town.
one in town that,
I know, but I didn't know that. That's interesting. Kind of like holding something over top of their head to pay their taxes in the town where they're.
yeah.
Didn't know that.
So we have no leverage at all with the Kokatoshi issue?
Well, I'm still working on trying to find maybe a way
And
to
then-
lock them or something so that when they get there in the summer, they can't get into their
Right.
trailer until they come see me, but
Any idea what the aggregate is?
I don't know.
Last time I think it was 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
Small.
I mean, most of them up there, most of them are paying. There's just, I'm gonna say, 10 of them that haven't paid for years. And for a while, it was starting to build up because they were saying, taxes? I don't pay them. Don't worry, the town won't do anything to you. So,
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Sue, thank you for all the hard work on that. Guess what? I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
good night.
Well done. Good.